And of course, I'm going to give her slightly darker skin. I mean, it had all these skin tone options, and I gave her slightly darker skin than me because that would be it would be asinine not to. And so she was like, "Thank you so much." She loved it. She's like, "But you know, her son is like 7, I think." And I guess he was like, "Mom, your skin looks dark. That was racist of her to make your skin so dark on the mug." And she was laughing. But in my mind, I'm like, where do you even get that? Like, how does a gift where I'm trying to make a true depiction of what my friend looks like, how is that racist? But it's like this default setting for anybody who's not white it's like racist. And he's so young. So it's like, is that happening in his school? It really was like, she thought it was funny, but to me, it really wasn't. It was concerning and unfortunate, really. But yeah, that's just the go-to. Everyone's racist. And somebody told me recently, if you look up the definition of discrimination, it is only if it's against somebody or a member of a minority community. So it's like anyone but white straight people basically can be discriminated against. So I need to go look that up myself, but I had somebody tell me that. I'm like, that's so not the case. Look what's happening today.
I know. I think, the straight white male and the straight white female are the endangered species. We're all racist and we're all homophobic and the like. But a 7-year-old who talks about race like that, where is he being taught that? That's shit. Talk about concerning. That's very concerning that they're that young. And just think about it. If he's taught that at 7, that's going to be reinforced, I'm sure, out in Oregon. Although I did hear that you got 2 or 3 counties are trying to go to the state of Idaho. How's that working out for them?
Yeah, there's actually 5 right now, and they're looking to secede. I don't know if that's ever going to. So it made it through Hoop 1. I personally don't ever see it actually happening because there's so many more steps that need to take place. But who knows? I mean, things are so radical today that maybe it will. But yeah, I mean, 5 different counties. And if you look at the map of Oregon and then the 5 counties that have voted to become Greater Idaho, Oregon becomes tiny. Of course, I'm left in Oregon at that point, but Oregon becomes so tiny and it's broken up. It's not a it's not a continuous state any longer. It would be a big chunk in Idaho. It's wild. If it really happens, it's just going to blow my mind because it's so outrageous, but we're fed up. You said earlier, we the people are pissed off.
Yes, we are.
And what's happening here doesn't represent the majority of the state of Oregon. So it's just pretty crazy. Last week, I spoke about the fact that there is a bill that is going to be voted on in 22 that would eliminate all, not just meat production, but basically you cannot own livestock. That's what it is. You can't own livestock and kill it for food. It has to die of natural causes. So you could only own pets, and you would have to wait until they die of natural causes, either age or they're sick, and that's when you can consume it. That's a real thing that is going to be voted on in 22. Is that not frightening? I mean, yuck. Sick.
A little crazy. Is Bill Gates involved with all that? I know he doesn't want any more. Yeah, I had some grass-fed beef tonight. It was pretty good.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I am a meatitarian. I love, yes, ground beef. I love beef. I mean, it's just crazy. So, and Bill Gates has openly said, my favorite food is a hamburger, but he wants us to eat printed beef made of soy and chemicals. It's just maddening. It's just crazy. I wonder, I thought his wife was nuts, but is he so nuts? That's why she's like, I'm out. Like this guy is like, a devil worshiper here. I mean, has he hit the level of crazy to where she didn't want to even be involved anymore? I wonder that, because that man is evil. And
yeah, he's a little different, I think. And I don't know if you're aware, but he doesn't want any parts of it to divorce public. He wants everything kept private. And I think he wants all his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein private too. And I think that might have been what pushed his wife over the edge as far as filing for divorce. But Jeffrey Epstein, I don't know if you think he killed himself or not, but he had a lot of people that he was associated with on that island of his down in the Caribbean.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think he killed himself at all. Definitely not. And I'm surprised his counterpart, was it Glizgang? I can never say her name right. I'm surprised she's still alive. She's vegan and in prison, and apparently lost 20 pounds that she didn't have to lose. But I'm surprised someone hasn't taken her out yet, quite frankly. So it's natural to die if they're shot. I'm like, it's just so nuts. I'm like, there's over 5 million acres used for livestock in Oregon right now, and they want it to just be used for pets that you have to just sit there and wait to die. But what about the farmers being paid 1.5 times what they are usually paid to not farm? I mean, that's like crazy. They're trying to, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I feel like they are trying to create a collapse. They want starvation, because how do you control the people? You take away food, you take away water, and that's what they're doing. And then we're going to have starvation. Then we're going to, the government, come bail me out. Come help me. Give me a, give me a.
You also take away you also mess with their health care. And Obamacare, when Obamacare came into existence, I think it was 2012 or so, the Republican argument, was against any kind of government health care. And then, in 2016 and 18, when we had an opportunity to, reverse some of the drastic Obamacare policies, what was the Republican argument then? It wasn't to get rid of Obamacare or get rid of parts of it, but not get rid of any government-controlled health care. Government has no business being in your health care, in my personal opinion. And, Obamacare is just one more socialist policy to push us towards that socialism precipice, if you will, the cliff, where once we get beyond it, it's just going to be that much more difficult to move back to your liberties and freedoms. They're trying to take them away one little bit at a time. And the problem with Republicans are the rhino Republicans who, allow them to do it. They're always trying to take away inch by inch your freedoms and your liberties. And, the Republicans are allowing them to do it. We need to stop. No more compromise when it comes to taking away your liberties and your freedoms, because they've already taken far too much.
Yes, they have. And you know what? I don't know. What is going on concerning mask mandates in New Hampshire? Do you have to wear them in public?
No masks in New Hampshire. Certain stores you have to wear them in. Certain stores want you to wear them. They'll have masks required to enter. But even Whole Foods, no masks required in Whole Foods anymore. And most establishments, there's no longer a mask required. But you see that, the governor, no more masks are required, but yet you see people driving down the road, they're in their car all by themselves and they got a mask on. Now that's just a special kind of not very smart, huh? I can't understand that, but you see it periodically.
That is the person that makes me want to bring my bullhorn out when I drive around. I just want to yell at them with my bullhorn out the window. I'm tempted to. When I bought it, my husband went, "Oh God, seriously, what are you going to do with that thing?" I'm like, "I'm going to yell at liberals." And I'll be honest, I have yet. So I just need to keep it in my car so that I have it on hand. But yeah, okay. So we in Oregon, we just recently no longer have to wear masks if you're fully vaccinated in public, but nobody's asking, even though our governor has mandated that every business owner in Oregon has to ask you for your papers before you can enter without a mask. No one's doing that. The first person that does that, Juan told me he had a really good comeback if it's a male, that if a male says, he put up his finger. I'm like, it's a good one. I'll tell you. But he basically said, if a male says, "Have you been vaccinated?" you say, "Have you been circumcised?" And I can't wait to use that one. I hope I don't ever have to. But
vaccinations are a personal choice as far as I'm concerned. Get it, don't get it. It's none of my business whether you get vaccinated or not. Yeah.
That's just it. But people are still wearing, it's been like 3 weeks now, and I'm the only, rarely do I ever see anybody else not wearing a mask. And I'm like, but those people that you do see that aren't wearing it, it's like a tribe. You're like, we give each other a nod, or I'm like, good to see that, so it's like, my gosh, it's amazing how many people are still wearing them, even though you no longer are required to. So they're trained. And I don't know.
Yeah,
it's pretty well here. I think Juan has a video for us. I know he's got a few good videos that he wants to play. One, I have to give a disclaimer on, it has quite a few F-bombs. I was like, Juan's feeling feisty tonight. He's picked out. I'm like, here I am.
I think Juan's feisty. I think Juan's feisty almost all the time.
Nice. I'm like, how hard it is for me not to curse. All right, and he's gonna play video here in a second. But yeah, it's pretty funny. But what is? I'm not really good at the symbols here. I don't know. 2 thumbs. I don't know.
In Cuba, education is also free, but you have to study what is available, and you must abide by their rules. You can't have your own practice, for example, because in Cuba, everything is government owned and operated. And if you study anything in the medical field, be ready to go to missions to other countries. Oh yes, there's that marketing to the world. You can study, but there aren't any jobs that'll pay enough to live. For example, a doctor gets paid less than $100 a month in Cuba. Can you imagine? But education is free, so stop complaining. I urge you to open your eyes, get educated in the real face of socialism and where it leads, because people want to mask it and, hey, it's good. It's where it leads, not where it starts, not the idea of it, where it leads. I don't want the government ruling my life, do you?
There you go. There's right on topic with what we've been talking about. It's like, I don't know about you. I don't know how many students you've talked to. I know you have kids that are like grown children. I have students that reach out to me on social media often, and I'm talking like 17, 18, and they're pro-socialism. And the main thing that makes them so excited is free college. And I'm like, dude, it's not free. Nothing's free. Like, where do you think the money is coming from? And I try to describe socialism. I'm like, look, you work your butt off for an A. Someone else just rolls into class and gets a D. Socialism is let's roll the two together, and whatever lands in the middle, that's what you both get, right? You're going to work hard. They don't do any work, but we're going to make it equal. I'm like, do you guys realize this? But we want free college. It's just crazy. And I'm like, it comes from somewhere. Look at Canada. I'm like, healthcare is not free. One, it's subpar in Canada, but 2, their taxes are like 50%. You talk about you enjoy not having income tax or sales tax. In Canada, it's like 50% of whatever they make is taxed. That's what pays for this free healthcare. It's just people are stupid. I just can't even with these people. What do we have here? Clapping seals, obedience mask, and Fauci is the liar that pushes propaganda, and the media loves liars and hates Trump. Exactly. Yeah. So backwards. It's like I should be walking on the ceiling. I mean, just I just love from down under. Aussie, I'm assuming. Very cool. It's so cool to be able to like reach so many people all over. I love it. I love it so much. But all right, we have another video that's going to roll here. That's on topic with
is inflation happening, and is it real? Well, I've got a real world example of something that is crazy that's happening in agriculture and in all shipping on pallets in the United States right now. One of these wooden pallets normally costs $6. Today, it's $40. From $6 to $40. That is a price that can't even be absorbed. Sometimes we as farmers and producers absorb that increase in price if we see it. In this case, we won't be able to. That's got to be passed on to you, the consumer, immediately, because it's orders of magnitude more than what we can absorb. And it's just one of the examples of inflation and how it's happening in our country right now.
Yep. I mean, is it real? What do you think, Lee?
Well, I've seen the price of gas go up at least, 50, 60%. I was in Lowe's just the other day, and a piece of flooring that normally costs maybe $25, $30 was $94. And it was like, wow, I mean, and I heard somebody said the cost of new housing's gone up in the neighborhood of $30,000 just to absorb the cost, the rise in cost of lumber. And it's not just lumber and fuel. It's soybeans and corn and a lot of food products. It's not sustainable. And I think people are getting a little bit fed up with it. So hopefully, we can curb some of the socialist, and especially that $5 trillion that, or is it $5 or $6 trillion that Biden wants to push down our throat with his quote infrastructure plan. So hopefully that's going to be. I hope it doesn't pass.
Yeah, no, seriously. You know what I just thought of with all the pallets? You know who loves pallets? The homeless in Portland. They love the pallets. They go around to all the businesses and they build little huts out of them. And if I was those businesses, I'd be locking that stuff up. That's turning into gold these days. And actually, I just had a fence put in. We should have done it last summer when things were still manageable. The price increased by $1,000. And it's just like, and I understand what's happening. I knew he wasn't pulling a fast one because I know lumber cost, and it's just what's happening. I mean, it's really unfortunate. So it's impacting everybody, but those homeless folks, they love those pallets. Tell you what, I've got another video we're going to roll here.
So, Ms. Principal, if I understand you correctly, my daughter was stabbed with a pencil by a student at your school, and your solution is pencil control. Yes, we're going to ban yellow pencils at this school. And what about all the other types of pencils, or even pens that could be used for violence? No, yellow pencils are the most popular and commonly used pencils at this school. If we ban them, then we will have less pencil violence. And should we not be talking about the kid who did this to my child? Maybe talk about what made him be violent in the first place? I'm going to stop you right there. That is irrelevant to this conversation. I'm honestly stunned that you don't support this common sense pencil control. You obviously don't care about the kids being hurt by pencil violence.
Oh, Lee, what does that remind you of?
The assault pencil, that's a dangerous thing there. Obviously, right. It's not the implement that you're using, it's the person behind the implement. So it's, obviously that's a take on gun control, and right. Gun control that the left wants to implement. They don't want you to have any weapons to be able to defend yourself or take care of your family. And the Second Amendment is not, the right to bear arms is, it's not a right. It's your personal rights, and it's, and they're just trying to take them away little by little. And there's a lot of pushback on it, and I think that's great. But like I said, it's, it could be an assault anything. Your assault car, your assault. The assault knife that you want to get rid of, and like I said, the assault pencil and the assault pen. So, like I said, it's all about individual and personal responsibility.
Right, absolutely. Oh, before you know it, we're only going to be able to write with sidewalk chalk, and the equivalent water balloons. You can have water balloons to protect yourself. That's all. That's all. No, just nice and round, and it just pops upon impact. It's ridiculous. All right, we've got another video here. This is the one. Disclaimer, F-bombs. Actually, S-bombs, F-bombs, A-bombs, lots of them. But here you go.
Welcome to the Non-Woke Employment Agency, where we believe your employer shouldn't give a fuck what you think about anything. You're just there to do a job.
You want to make sure the new place you work is politically aligned? Nobody gives a fuck.
A safe place and beanbag chairs? Suck a dick!
Oh, you're a liberal and there's conservatives in the workplace.
Your last boss did what? He put what where? Woo, girl, give me his number. I want to pay him for that.
You want cocktail hour? Sounds like you need the 12-step program. Step 1, bye!
So what's your name? Karen? Oh no, we got a strict no Karen policy here. Bye, bitch. This bitch about to call the police on me.
Remember, you work for them. They don't work for you. And if you have a problem with that, fuck you!
I told you, I forgot about the D-bomb.
I'm totally offended. I don't know if in the news this past couple of days there's this company who says he's not going to hire any more Ivy League graduates. I don't know if you knew that or not, but he says they're too woke and they can't make decisions. They can't make any decisions because they're too woke, or I'm assuming that's what their issue is. I just don't know. But yeah, a big company says they weren't going to hire any more Ivy League graduates, which I find hilarious.
Gosh, I need to look that up because that is amazing. You know what? Speaking of big companies, now North Face, I don't know. I just bought 2 North Face sweatshirts. I'm so bummed that this came out after I spent the money on them. They're not cheap either. So North Face basically declined to make like personalized sweatshirts for a business that was in the oil industry. And so somebody in the oil industry, he made this commercial and basically called out the fact that that North Face uses, he's like, I analyzed their products and 90% of the clothing and the equipment and, the oil slick work pants and all that, it's like 90% of what they sell uses our product. So thank you so much for your business. So, I mean, it was great. It was wonderful. But I'm like, dang it, now I can't wear my North Face sweatshirts because they're too woke. I can't do it. But it's so good when they can punch up like that. I love it.
No, it is. It's crazy, but it's crazy. You can't make North Face products without oil-based ingredients, and yet they're not going to. It makes 0 sense. 0 cents.
I know. It's just I can't handle the wokeness. All right, we have a familiar face here in a video we're going to play. Another disclaimer.
I fucking told you so, you liberal crybabies. So what did I tell you about? I said if you increase the minimum wage up to $15 an hour, you're going to get automated and the cost of things are going to go up. Well, here's McDonald's automating your job. I'm actually kind of excited about it because it's less likely this machine is going to fuck up my order. Please don't put cheese on my fucking burger. And just to show you, go back, watch that one with the 320,000 views. I ripped this guy apart on this one already. But seriously, no cheese, I'm allergic. On to the next one. And Chipotle raised it up to $15 an hour, and the cost to produce has gone up. So now the cost for you to buy it has gone up. The CEO went on record to say, and then with that, we've taken some pricing to cover some of that investment. Your liberal policies have made gas more expensive, food more expensive, lumber more expensive, houses more expensive. Guess who that affects the most? Poor people, you dumb fucks. Your policies hurt poor people.
Oh my gosh. You don't even, that's like me after a few beers. Like that's, you know how hard it is for me not to curse during the show.
I'm sure Juan will tell you I never say bad words. I don't use any bad words at all. Do I, Juan? I don't think he can hear us. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's tough for me not to say bad words. But it's I grew up in the South. I'm a military guy, so it's part of my normal talking. It's I have to be very careful about what I say.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just savage deep down. I can't help myself. It's funny because growing up, neither of my parents ever cursed, ever. I mean, one time I said F you to my dad, and I know that's not cool, but I was like a raging teenager with hormones. And I said F you to my dad, and he said it back, and I was like, oh, I mean, that's like the only time my parents have cursed. But my sister and I, we are truck drivers. Like, I don't understand how that happened. But
I feel
thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Neither one of my parents ever said a bad word, ever. And it was like, how did I know where I got it. We got it from my mother's brothers, uncles who were, that's where I learned most of my bad words. And, yeah, my parents, neither one of them said a bad word. I never heard them say bad words growing up, ever.
It's funny how that happens. Yeah. Well, my sister and I, we to this day laugh. We're like, how did we come from them? It's just so crazy. But speaking of military, I have to ask you, what the hell is going on with the military today? They seem woke as ever. Am I wrong?
I think the rank and file, I don't believe, are quote woke. I think that, you've got some leaders in the military, you've got some civilian leaders, and I think a lot of these generals now came up under the Obama administration, and Obama promoted a lot of people who probably may not have normally got promoted to higher ranks, but you look at the Secretary of Defense, and his biggest issue seems to be he wants to root out extremism. And it's like, well, what kind of extremism? Well, he's thinking right-wing extremism, and he's thinking, who do they normally associate with that? Well, the white male, I suppose. But there's not any extreme. There might be a minor part of the military might have some extremists in it, just as any society does. But the guys who go into the military this day and age, in my opinion, are patriots, and they should be looked up to. And I don't think this guy's looking for a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. In the same way with the Air Force, the new Air Force Chief of Staff, who Trump put into that position. He made diversity training a new diversity program in the Air Force, and it's the absurdity of it. Can't be overemphasized, I don't believe, because there really is no problem as far as racism in the military. I mean, everybody's the same. You get ahead by doing good work, and nobody cares what the color of your skin is. Nobody. And I never saw that in 30 plus years in the Air Force. Never saw it once.
I believe you. And what's wild? I think about even like my husband was NYPD before we moved here. And I think about that's one of the most diverse police forces out there. And his friends had a mix of backgrounds. And the same thing when I worked in New York City, a very, very diverse workforce that I was part of. And they're creating this racism out of thin air. Yes. Does it exist in like that 1%, 2%, maybe? Yes. I believe it does, but it's so few and far between, and it's just becoming so divisive to just pretend that it exists everywhere. I just took a diversity training. It was 6 hours, and it just really, I gave feedback on that, and I'm just like, it's just one of those things where let's not make something out of nothing. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it. So I hear what you're saying about the military, that it's those few, that small percentage that is giving this woke name to the military in a lot of ways. Because I hear it often where people are starting to really not trust the military as much as they once did. And it's unfortunate because you're right. A lot of patriots are signing up for the right reasons. But it makes sense that it's the folks that worked under Obama and that were given these roles that they didn't qualify for, probably because they're yes men and yes women. And that's what someone like that wants. Unfortunately,
I don't know if you recall, but prior to Obama being the president, you didn't see a whole lot about race. I think Obama brought racism to the forefront, and I think he did it on purpose. And it's a divisive thing. And like I said, like you said, 1% to 2% of people, maybe they're probably not even that much. There's very few people who are like that. I look at people as people, and I have interactions with all races on a daily basis, and it's just it's sad that the left, and it's the left who brings all this stuff up. You don't ever hear any Republicans bringing up racism. They don't, and the left brings it up because anything where they have been, they feel like they've been harmed. Well, you're a racist. You did that to me because I'm Black or Asian or Hispanic or whatever that's your skin pigment is, and it's all absurd. And when you bring up racism, I've said it earlier, when you bring up racism, that you have no facts to back up your position or your argument.
Right. It's so true. It just made me think of the fact that in Vancouver, Washington, which is just right over the bridge from where we are in Portland, Oregon here, Vancouver is where I grew up, out in that area. And just the other day, swastikas were spray painted all over buildings that had pride flags up. And I tell you what, I am willing to put money on the fact that was Antifa out there looking to paint this picture that it's white supremacy. I bet you anything it was Antifa out there, or BLM, or one of those groups that's really trying to push this white supremacy narrative further, because I don't talk to people at all that are anti-homosexual. Like it's just not really even it exists, but again, it's that small percentage. And who really takes the time to paint a swastika unless you're really pushing an agenda? I mean, you just don't see that occurring naturally.
I couldn't agree with you more. And when you brought that up, I said, well, I don't believe that there were white supremacists out there doing that. And just like, I don't necessarily want to bring up the Capitol riot, but there were a lot of left-wing instigators at that Capitol, quote, riot. And I don't call it a riot, but what happened there shouldn't have happened, but there was a lot of left-wing instigation going on with regards to that.
Yes. All right. Well, Juan has one more video for us here. This is a good one.
This question. Who doesn't love rich pettiness? North Face refused to make jackets for an oil and gas company. So the fossil fuel industry is fighting back with a new campaign, thanking North Face for using so much petroleum in their products.
I'm Chris Wright, CEO of Liberty Energy. North Face recently came out against my industry, even refusing to let one of my competitors put their company logo on a North Face jacket. I went through North Face's website of wide-ranging products, and I failed to find a single product that wasn't made out of oil and gas. The great majority of North Face's products, jackets, backpacks, outdoor pants, shirts, shoes, hats, etc., are dominantly made out of the oil and gas that we so proudly produce. Globally, 60% of all clothing fibers are made out of oil and gas. For North Face, it is likely 90% or more. So North Face is not only an extraordinary customer of the oil and gas industry, they are also a partner with the oil and gas industry. So thank you, North Face, and you're welcome.
Is that not the best? Thank you, Juan, for finding that. So good. So well made. Really punching up. I love it.
Very well made. Yes. The hypocrisy is, you can't describe how hypocritical they are.
I know, it's insane. I don't even have words. Oh no, I'm glad he found that one, because I saw that and I shared it. Usually I'll share a snippet of a video. I shared that full minute and a half because I was like, that is good, because we need more of that. And the fact that man, that business owner, put his neck out there like that, we need that. We need more of that. Democratic leftist needs division because America United would sweep them out of power. So true. Yeah, they want to break us down. They want to tear us apart. They don't want us united, and they've done a good job of it. We need to collect and think about how we are going to get together again. Let's read a few of these here. Pyra here agreed. Just like our prison system, if inmates united the guards. It's so true. Oh my gosh. I mean, how many times have the prisons had those takeovers? I can't think of what it's technically called, but I mean, yeah, when we gather together, we're unstoppable. But, I have to be honest here, when I go to the grocery store and I'm the only one not wearing a mask, I think, oh, damn, I don't have a shot in hell out here. But I'm glad that it's not just, I don't know. I'm glad there's red states out there that can carry it. At least carry it for them, and they have a fight or a dog in the fight. But anyways, all right, we've got 1 minute left here. Lee, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you for sharing what's happening in New Hampshire, because it's really, I don't feel like it's a state we hear enough about, and it was great to learn more. So I appreciate your time, and thank you for your service in the military.
Well, thank you for all that. And yeah, we're, like I said, tomorrow, if you're listening and you're close to New Hampshire, the rally starts at 12. We the people for voter integrity and a statewide audit of our ballots. And I think hopefully that will happen. It's an uphill climb, but if we get enough people out there to support it, the government's going to have to listen.
Love it. Absolutely. Yes. Please join if you can, and we'll tune in and we'll be there with you in spirit. Lee, thank you so much, and have a good time yesterday, and be safe.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks. I just said yesterday versus tomorrow. That was really strange. Anyways, you guys, I have to tell you something about MyPillow real quick. So mypillow.com, as you guys know, we have a partnership with them. We have our own discount code. It's RAM. I actually have one of my subscribers and viewers, Drew. He was able to not only make a purchase with that, but he was able to call them and tell them that he has chronic neck pain. And they said, though there's a nationwide foam shortage, I don't know if you guys know that there is a foam shortage that really was born in Texas. But anyways, they said that they were able to rush it for him because of his chronic neck pain. So it's really awesome to know that MyPillow will do that for people, despite the fact that they are inundated right now and that there is that shortage. Again, the code is RAM. The other thing is, and I don't know if this happens all the time, I wasn't aware of this, but he received a $25 gift card to be used for towards his next purchase with MyPillow. So I can't imagine that they would pick and choose who they send that to. So something to think about if you do need to get some sheets and pillows, etc. Use our discount code. There's some great perks available with that, and then it reflects back on us. So thank you so much for your support. I'll see you next Thursday. I appreciate you tuning in. You guys have a great night. I am a raging patriot.
The Second Amendment is a priority at the Loaded Mic. If we don't defend the right to keep and bear arms, there are people who are happy to violate it. The strategies and tactics of the anti-gun crowd and politicians are sinister. We need to understand those tactics. I wrote the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series as the rule book to their evil game, so we can understand their strategies and motives to defeat them. Understand the mindset of the anti-gunner in Book 1. Learn the media strategies behind the gun grab in Book 2, and understand the politics behind their mission in Book 3. Go to goodgunbadguy.com.
Hi, I'm Chales Sauer, president of the Market Institute Foundation and editor of U.S. Policy. This week, I want to talk about antitrust legislation again, because next week, the Democrats, along with a few Republicans, are actually planning on going to war against U.S. businesses. Their goal? Well, from the policy proposals, it looks like total authoritarian domination of large internet companies. And the likely result, if these bills are going to pass, is basically what you would guess. An Amazon that looks more like Craigslist, and a permanent market advantage by the same social media giants they are attacking. The thing is, the internet has dramatically changed the way that business is conducted around the world. For many, this change has meant access to higher quality goods at lower prices. And for businesses, this has meant the opening of markets that might have taken decades to open if it would have ever even been possible. And for politicians scared of change, this has meant a fresh round of businesses to be fearful of and antagonistic towards. Look, change can be scary, but we don't have lamplighters anymore. Heck, we don't even carry around cassette tapes anymore. That means that those people are out of businesses. Changes like this mean that people lose jobs. Changes like this can also mean that where one company was dominant in the past, a new company will rise to take their position and new jobs will be created. This isn't just about retail, though. The internet has also brought on social communication, a social aspect to our lives that can be hard to grasp. Social media companies have not only changed the way that we communicate with each other, but in some cases have even been considered the drivers of social and political change. Without social media, many of the recent uprisings around the world would have been nearly impossible to organize and manage. And if we agree with the change that these uprisings are pushing, it can be exciting. But understandably, Sometimes these changes can be intimidating or scary when they're aimed towards our own culture and government. The solution to this isn't fear, though. It isn't censorship. It isn't more government that's needed. The change that's needed is about making sure that competitors have a chance. That when a company like MySpace dominates a market, that a company like Facebook can emerge and do it better. More regulation doesn't make that easier. It makes that competition harder. The internet has reduced startup cost. The next Amazon competitor already has a proof of concept in Amazon. That's going to make it easier for the next one to find investors than it was for Bezos when starting Amazon. The next Facebook might have already been programmed and might be gaining traction now. For instance, in response to the accused bias against conservatives, several platforms have already sprung up claiming to allow more open communication. However, if more regulations are passed, the ease of starting up goes away. In fact, one of Parler's main issues was the ability to keep up with existing regulations, not with Amazon, not with Facebook, but with California. And as regulations increase, the odds of competing with market incumbents start slipping away. The bills to be introduced next week all take on different aspects of the political push for authoritarian control of the internet. They look at data, they look at mergers and acquisitions, and they look at platform fairness. As defined by who? Them. Their version of fair. That's not what we want. And while it looks like this group of anti-business politicians is only currently attacking 4 businesses, as discussed, the ramifications of any of these bills will have a wide-ranging impact on our economy. All of this and nothing, not even a whimper, about solving political bias concerns. And to be clear, I think it's pretty unlikely that any of these companies are intentionally politically biased. Any small amount of research would show them that about half of their user base leans one way and half lean the other way. So any bias by them would mean possibly alienating half of their users. And the companies in question, oh yeah, they spend millions of dollars a year on market research. However, with some of the most outspoken Republicans driving the messages that social media companies should come under fire for censoring voices of the right, it is conspicuous that none of the bills to be introduced focus on this issue. And it just proves that this isn't really about political bias. This push for antitrust legislation, these bills are about control. They are about fear. They're driven by ignorance instead of philosophy, ideology, or even a long-run economic plan. We don't have to like Amazon. We don't have to like Google, and we don't have to like Facebook or Twitter, but regulating them doesn't mean that they will go away. What the U.S. needs is a strong economy. A strong economy will help us create more businesses. A strong economy will lead to more competition, and more competition will lead to more value for buyers in the U.S. and beyond. We need the government out of the way. We need to stop acting in fear and instead act in the way that a U.S. citizen should. Competition, innovation, creation of something new. If you want to hear more about different bills, antitrust bills, economic bills, healthcare bills, please hit that like and subscribe button and come back to see us more often. Thank you.
Why other countries hate our Second Amendment, Kamala and the border, and the Philadelphia naked bike ride. This is The Loaded Mic, and I'm Dan Wos. You're listening to The Loaded Mic. The anti-gun crowd will always talk about deaths due to gun violence, or so-called gun violence, but they never tell you about the lives that are saved because of guns. See, that won't help their mission to disarm America. The rhetoric is to create fear in the minds of those who don't know any better, and the strategy is for the purpose of making citizens dependent and compliant. Other countries often despise the freedom Americans have because they know they will never have it. That's why when we read fantasy articles from the BBC, for instance, we see things like this. Quote, there were 14,400 gun-related homicides in 2019. Killings involving a gun accounted for nearly 3/4 of all the homicides in the U.S. that year. End quote. So the implication is that if guns were gone, 3/4 of the people would have lived. This is false. Killers use whatever means are available, and gun laws make good people vulnerable. This is why in 2018, London exceeded New York City in violent crime, but they didn't even use guns to do it. They used knives. So removing guns doesn't remove violence. The difference in America is we reminded the king who was in charge. They didn't. So they justify their subordination by denouncing guns, the Second Amendment, and the idea that people can take responsibility for their own lives. But what happens when other countries remove firearms from their society, but find that murder rates don't go down? Well, they find any excuse to redirect focus from the fact that they have made their citizens vulnerable to attacks, and guns don't cause violence. After a 40% murder increase in 2017 in the British capital, London Police Commissioner blamed the deaths on YouTube and Snapchat. What the gun grabbers don't want you to know is that guns in the hands or the belts or the purses of American citizens is a net positive for life preservation. They'll never tell you that guns are used 2.5 million times per year to save lives. How could that possibly help them in their mission to control society? So here's some numbers real quick. Gun-related deaths in the U.S. 2017, according to Pew Research Center. Total gun-related deaths were 39,773. But suicides made up 60% of those, of 23,854. Law enforcement was 553, and unintentional was 486, and undetermined was 338. So the actual number of gun-related murders was 14,542. Remember, 2.5 million lives saved by defensive gun uses. So we must take out the gun-related suicides because we know that they are not reduced by the absence of guns. We saw this in Australia after the so-called gun buyback. The gun grabbers hate to remove suicides from the stats because it hurts their argument. In reality, we're left with approximately 14,542 gun-related murders. Now, most would agree that compared to 2.5 million defensive gun uses, in other words, lives saved potentially by defensive guns, that we would agree that guns are a net positive for life preservation. In other words, guns are used to save lives, ready for this, 172 times more than they're used to take them. But let's look at where the majority of gun-related murders are committed. Now, warning, the gun grabbers really hate this part. The majority of all gun-related murders are committed in Democrat-run cities, which, by the way, have some of the nation's strictest gun control laws. But how could that be, you ask? Isn't it obvious? You prevent good people from defending themselves, and the result is bad people doing harm. See, where there's more concealed carry, there are less assaults. But do the gun grabbers not see this? You would think Moms Demand Action, Every Town, and the Brady campaign would tell you about this, because they want to save lives and stuff. But actually, the gun-related violence in these Democrat violence zones helps their mission because gun-related deaths are actually very low in relation to many other causes of death. The anti-gun groups need these cities to continue producing murder by gun. The truth is, they want more gun restrictions in these places because they know it only makes good people defenseless and gives them more deaths to add to their list. Now, they could stop these murders by encouraging self-defense and supporting gun rights, because they want to save lives, but they don't. So here we are today on the Loaded Mic set with John Chiara. We have Danny Wos Jr., our producer. We have Anthony Diso in the house.
Are you pure Italian?
No.
Half? Yeah, half Italian, Irish, and French.
Me too.
Right.
So we have half Italian Dan, half Italian John, half Italian Anthony.
And Danny Wos Jr.
Quarter Italian
He's
Danny.
quarter Italian Danny. Because there he is. Yep. Anyway, so we're here to talk about this. So the point that I was trying to make, John, is a couple points with this monologue is that other countries, like Great Britain, they denounce our rights, our gun ownership rights, because frankly, they don't have any. They can't.
Right.
They can't own guns like we can, and they certainly can't tell their leadership to kiss their ass. We can. We can tell Joe Biden, kiss our ass all day long, and he'll have nothing to do about it.
Well, they can tell the prime minister to kiss their ass.
Well, they can. But will they get arrested? The question is, will they get arrested?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, you've watched Parliament, right?
Well, no.
They scream at each other all the
Well, that's
time.
true. They do.
That's
Yeah, they do. I guess the point I'm trying to make is they don't have the freedoms and the liberties that we have here.
So they have to buy knives.
So they buy knives. And, London exceeds New York City in violent crime. They use knives. So it doesn't reduce the violence level. So I just want to get your thoughts.
Well, it does. It's like so many things. It's like people often think that if you get the government to do something, limit something, tell you what to do, make a rule about something, that's going to fix whatever problem that they see. And as we see, just relating to guns, is that almost never works, right? It never does what it's supposed to do. But we never talk about that. They just keep harping on new stuff and new things. And when we try to make examples like this, they're just like, well, what are you saying? Like I posted last week, somebody was posting about gun violence. I said, 55 people shot in Chicago last weekend. Why? How come that's not on the front page? Why aren't we hearing about that? Do we not care about those 55 people? Because if, like you said, if you care about people, we have to include everybody. And this concept translates to every policy that we have, from climate change to any kind of monetary stuff, taxes, all kinds of things, because it almost never does what the government says that it's supposed to do.
Well, the reason you don't hear about Chicago, because Chicago is one of the 4 or 5 highest violent cities. And it's Democrat run. Of course it's Democrat run. But they don't tell you that because it's a perfect example of how bad the gun laws are in Chicago, because in Chicago they're very strict. It's hard to get a gun. And so the good people are ultimately left rendered, unarmed and helpless, and the bad guys are running around with guns because they don't pay attention to law. It's so stupid that we have to keep saying it, and we think that they don't understand. They do understand. So we have to admit to ourselves that they actually understand what's going on. Right. They know what they're doing. They like the high numbers, because if it wasn't for the high numbers in 4, and I think the last I looked, it was 4 cities. It was Chicago, DC, Detroit, and Baltimore. I think those were the 4 biggies at the time when they did this study. Right. And those 4 cities, those 4 Democrat cities, made up 25% of the gun-related homicides.
Well, maybe they don't care because it's basically bad guys shooting bad guys. Maybe they don't care about the bad guys.
That's one thing. It doesn't fit their narrative. They can't use it to promote, move forward their political agenda. But also, without that, let's say that number of 14,500 was decreased by 25%. Those numbers would go down, and they would have less ammo, if you will, to push for more gun restrictions.
Their argument.
Yeah.
But we're not surprised at that, right?
No, but we have to keep talking about. I think we have to keep talking about it and let people know, because there might be somebody listening to this show right now and thinking, "Well, yeah, more gun restrictions will be good and more background checks and all this stuff." No, it's not. It makes the situation worse, because what you're doing is you're taking you have 2.5 million defensive gun uses. When you make it more difficult for those good people to own a gun, you put them at risk, and simultaneously you're giving more power and leverage to people who want to commit violent acts.
Who aren't obeying the law anyway,
and they won't obey it anyway. So the gun restrictions only apply to those people who want to be able to defend themselves, good people, And when you put the restrictions on, it makes them more vulnerable, gives them more leverage to the bad guys. And lots of gang violence. Why aren't we talking about gang violence? Why? Anthony comes from the
ghetto
of Albany, New York. Why aren't we talking, Anthony, about in our society about gang violence?
Doesn't fit the government's agenda.
Doesn't help anybody to talk.
Doesn't help anybody because they don't care about the gang members. Kill each other. Oh well. But the gun doesn't fit their agenda to take it away from me and you. Our right to have, guns.
Right. You agree?
It's obvious to me, but I just don't know how they can justify. Well, it's not. It fits the narrative, though. Let's categorize everybody into categories. So if they're categorizing us as racist and white supremacists and gun nuts and whatever else they think we are, I'm supposed that they're categorizing criminals into those categories too, and just deciding that, well, we don't care about that group because you don't. I mean, in Albany, right here in Albany, I mean, how many shootings? 150 this year so far or something? Pregnant girls getting shot, 4-year-olds finding guns and garbage pails and shooting people and stuff. Like what? How do you not clamp down on that?
They call those community guns. That's what they are. They hide them in trash cans or in a certain spot, and the gang members know where they are. And if they're told to do something, they go get that gun from that community spot. But sometimes a kid will find it and think it's a toy.
It's terrible.
And the kid did shoot a gun and shot an 8-year-old.
But of course, when they get those guns out of the garbage cans or whatever, of course they go to the local FFL and get their background checked before they
the little 8-year-old's like, hey man, can I get a background check? I gotta run this 38 millimeter over to this house.
It's so funny. Not funny. Funny that nobody wants to go after.
You think the government would want to reverse their role and take care of the crime problem with the guns, but they
watch
don't.
It in Albany, if you listen to local radio and stuff, the mayor of Albany, Kathy Sheehan, her and all her cohorts are all like, well, we have to get the community members to chime in. And I'm sure those mothers are out there on the street going, what the heck?
Yeah.
Give me some cops in here, stop it. Put some presence in those neighborhoods where that kind of stuff is happening. I mean, that's common sense.
Let me chime in.
Put a presence in.
I'll talk to Sheehan about
you
gun-related issues and gun laws and how they hurt good people. And I'll talk to Sheehan about the crime and the violence that's going on in her city that she can't control or that she's purposely maybe not trying to control. I'll talk to her about that. I'll go on any show with her and talk to her about it. And if I can't help her understand it, maybe I can help some of her followers.
Right, exactly.
That's what we're trying to do here today. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to say, look, the people who think gun control, gun restrictions are a good thing, wake up. It's not. It's a bad thing. It's really very simple. You put the restriction on good people when you do that, and you let the bad guys run wild. So my goal here has always been to expose the left and their horrible narrative and their lies and their rhetoric and their propaganda. But not only just bash them, although I enjoy bashing them, not only that, but show exactly why it's like this and what the socialist communist Democrats are doing to try to brainwash everybody and convince everybody to
And it's amazing how the narrative persists, because if you look at any numbers, as we talk about over and over and over and over again, 2.4, 2.5 million times a year, somebody uses a gun to stop an incident, So why is that not in every discussion? 400 million guns in the country, how many of those guns are shooting people? Right. Why is that? That should be the denominator in every number. Time somebody puts a number up, there should be a number below that. Out of this many, this is what's happening. Because if you look at it that way, you wouldn't make cars, you wouldn't make airplanes, you wouldn't make anything, because all those things are way more dangerous than law-abiding gun owners, right?
We used the number 400 million. I think that's a little more accurate than we talked about a couple of weeks ago about Liam Neeson making a comment back years ago talking about how there are 300 million guns in America and how terrifying that is and
Anthony's
stuff.
bought 8 since then, so
exactly. So, but the point is that they think it's 300. I think you're closer to the truth. I think it's more 400. I would even go as far as almost 500 million guns in this country. And that's just based on, I don't have any solid data because you can't measure the guns that aren't accounted for.
Right.
And we know that there's a lot of
But the people that are buying the guns that are accounted for aren't buying them to go out and shoot people.
Well, that's
They're
true.
buying them to protect themselves.
Yeah. And if the bad guys have even 50 million guns out there, if there are 50 million bad guys with guns, well, I think I want to have mine.
Exactly.
You know?
I agree.
Don't leave that.
I got to get one.
Well, I mean, I don't leave the house. Make sure I got a good charge on my cell phone. Make sure I got a few bucks in my pocket and a
38 in your back pocket,
a 380 in my belt, and I mean, these are things that may come in handy, right?
Well, and you never know when you're going to need them.
Yeah.
That's the point, right? Like you wear your seatbelt, not because you think you're going to get in a crash, but you might get in a crash, so you put the seatbelt on. They didn't put airbags in cars so you could be happy just driving around not needing the airbag. It's there for a reason, Right.
Well, yeah, and they, the idea that people that they want to have legislation to make you keep your guns locked up or unloaded or whatever. That's like getting in a crash and then turning your airbag or putting your seatbelt on first before you come in to have the impact. That's not
weird,
the way it
right?
works. Yeah.
It's not right.
It's not the way it works. So, all right. So I wanted to hit on that topic, but we have. There was something you wanted to talk about, the defunding the police thing.
Well, that's going to take a while, so you should probably. Are you going to talk about
We've
Kamala?
got a couple things. We got a couple things.
Tackling
Okay, so let's talk. Okay, so we'll save that one for after the break.
All right.
Just give it a little tease on it, though.
Well, the defunding of the police. Somebody posted yesterday a listing of a whole bunch of American cities, and how much was being defunded from the police department, and what the
correlating result was from.
What the result has been since. And a lot of this, I think, is attitudinal. I mean, people think, oh, the police aren't going to come here, and they're afraid to do this. Every time there's a trial and something bad happens, like the George Floyd thing, I think criminals are emboldened by that, right? Like, we can get away with this. So what happens is violence goes up by default because I don't think the criminals feel as threatened as they used to be.
But you've got some actual
there's
statistics and numbers.
Right.
Okay, so we'll do that after the break because that's interesting. You showed me a little bit of it, and I was like, well, that's pretty crazy. So, okay, so I want to get. I think we want to say how much, Danny Wos, how many?
Oh, we got time. We got like 10 minutes.
Okay, so let's talk about Kamala's cackle. So, Kamala, your beloved vice president, sort of. I don't know.
Vice President to former Joe Biden.
She's vice president to former Vice President Joe Biden. She goes on Lester Holt's show. Now, is this MSNBC or CNN or one of those left-wing shows? She goes on there, and he's actually trying to hold her. He's somewhat holding her accountable to why she hasn't gone to the border.
Asking her the question.
The border's a complete disaster. It's blowing up. People are flowing over. There's all sorts of drugs and COVID and all sorts of stuff coming through. It's a complete disaster. You don't hear about it on the news though, and everyone's wondering, well, Kamala didn't Sippy Cup Joe put you in charge, and you're supposed to go down there and see what's going on.
went down and cried when Trump was in office.
At least go down there and cry a little bit or something. But she didn't go down, and she hasn't gone down, and everybody knows it.
To the border.
To the border. She hasn't gone down. He has to correct me. To the border, right.
Yeah, to the border.
Yeah. So
what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, you know what we're talking about. All right.
That innuendo was pretty cool, but we know her knees are dirty.
Her knees are dirty because she's planting flowers, of course, right?
The border. She's putting flowers.
She's planting flowers at the. Yeah. Anyway, so Lester Holt somewhat holds her accountable in this clip, and we're going to play the clip here in a second. I just wanted to kind of lead up to it. So he somewhat tries to hold her accountable, and she dodges his question. And I want you to listen to the way she laughs it off. This is her signature laugh, and then we can talk about why she does that laugh. So here's the clip. Watch this.
Just quickly put a button.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to visit the border?
At some point, we are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I mean, I don't understand the point that you're making. I'm not discounting the importance of the border.
Well, I mentioned it because even I know Republicans have certainly come at you on this, but Democratic Congressman Cuellar has a border district has said to you and the president, come. You need to see this.
Listen, I care about what's happening at the border.
Shocking, right? I know.
Ridiculous.
So if you notice at the end how she avoids the question by saying, well, I didn't go to Europe either, right? Like, what does that have to do with?
It's got nothing to do.
Yeah.
She appeared totally unprepared to answer the question, which is mind-boggling. Because how long were they going to go before somebody actually asked her that question?
Yeah.
Sooner or later, somebody was going to get her on, record her doing that.
But the lefties have been so nice to her.
What has she been doing? What does she do?
I have no idea. Anthony, what's Kamala been doing over these past? I don't know how many days, 150 days, something like that.
6 months, absolutely nothing.
She's got to be doing something.
I haven't heard a word from her. She hasn't said anything. She hasn't done anything as a vice president. She's basically just collecting a giant salary and just walking around the White House, cackling around.
So that's a good point, the cackle. So at the end of that, you notice how she laughed.
Always.
She laughs it off. So what, like, I didn't go to Europe either. It's like, what is that? Why would you laugh?
It's a cognitive thing, right? There's a name for it, I'm sure. It's a deflection mechanism where it must be inside that she thinks if I just laugh, I don't have to really answer the question. Or how ridiculous is that question? Everybody will think I'm smarter than the other person because I got people on Facebook. I just posted today. One person, everything I post, his response is the ha-ha emoji. Everything. So I put up today, people that answer like that, they're just like cackling like her, and he did it again, and I said repeatedly. So what happens is that I think maybe they think it disarms people, or it relieves them of having to answer the question or having to talk about the facts. Maybe that works in private parties or something, but I don't know how they think that works on national news when you're in a, you ask me a question and I just talk about something and say, I didn't do that. Ha, 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 ha. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
Well, here I go. I'm laughing too. Maybe I'm not, but I'm not trying to avoid it because that's exactly what I think she's trying to do. She's trying to avoid answering the question. She didn't have a good answer for why she hasn't gone to the border.
But why doesn't she have an answer? That's a question that I don't understand. How,
okay, here's the truth that nobody wants to talk about. They want the border to stay open. She doesn't want to go down there. She knows if she goes down there and there's a camera and the people finally have verification that she saw this stuff, then they're going to say, what the hell are you doing?
In the loop then. Now she's keeping herself out of the whole situation.
And the truth is they want that border open. They want it open as long as they can get away with it because when those people come in, they ship them all over the country. But most importantly, I believe they're trying to turn Texas blue. Because the majority of those people are going to stay right in Texas. And if they can keep those migrants dependent, and they can keep them voting Democrat. And that's what
Between them and the people moving there from California and other places like that, trying to get away from all the crap that
because Texas is the thing. Texas is the Democrats' nemesis.
I agree.
They hate Texas because Texas is real America. That's what America is all about. Traditional values, believe in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, believe in God. Texas are primarily conservatives, and they're trying everything they can possibly do to turn that blue.
Well, it's a plan, If they can just keep avoiding these kind of questions for long enough and they get enough people through the border, I guess that'll make a difference.
But the governor of Texas has put his own task force in place on the border to prevent, I don't know if they're going to prevent all of it, but to prevent as much as they can. So now Texas has to fight against federal government.
Of course.
To keep the,
Well, thank God for states' rights, right? I guess. Otherwise, we'd be...
But I mean, there's your answer, though. So that's why Kamala's laughing it off. She doesn't want to go there. She's trying to avoid answering the question. She doesn't want to be there because she knows that she'll be tied right into it at that point. Right. And her Democrat supporters and voters will have to acknowledge it. I don't know. Maybe they won't.
Maybe they won't. Well, but the underlying silver lining here, I think, is that one, because we have states' rights. you have things like this in Texas going on where people are actually fighting back, right? And as we watched on some Board of Education on Blaze TV a little while ago, people are showing up and fighting back. So I think that this last 100, 200, 5 months of time or whatever, where Biden has done nothing and she has done nothing, there's a lot of people out there on the other side are saying, well, we're going to speak up. So I think you're going to see more and more of that going on as time goes forward. States are doing the same thing with concealed carry laws, right? They're voting them into effect so that they're saying to the federal government, well, we're going to do what we're going to do because we're a state.
It's called constitutional carry, and right now I think there are 21 states. I think Texas actually was the most recent. And what it basically says, the constitutional carry state says that we honor the Second Amendment. We don't pay attention to unconstitutional federal gun laws.
Right. And the thing in California with the AKs, right? They just the judge overturned, what, a 20-year-old law?
California just lost. The judge deemed California's so-called assault, I hate using the word.
AK.
So-called assault AKs, weapons,
right.
He deemed the ban on those firearms unconstitutional. So that's a great thing. That means that these lefty gun grabbers can make this term assault weapon and try to categorize as many different style of guns as they can.
You got to shoot holes in that narrative wherever you can. That's the battle.
So this case says no. They're semi-automatic. Even the judge. I think even the judge said that these are common, popular sporting rifles. They have a dual purpose. They can be used for self-defense. They can be used for sporting. They can be used for hunting. They can be used for a wide variety of things. They're a pretty popular gun and versatile. And they're a good thing, basically is what he's saying. There's no reason we should be banning this. It is definitely unconstitutional if we to ban this. So he deemed the assault weapons ban unconstitutional. So now he did give
30 days.
30-day stay. Now a stay is basically, we rule this way, but you've got 30 days. In this case, it's 30 days for them to get their case together and pull their appeal together, because they're definitely going to appeal. I think they're going to appeal. I wouldn't, if they do appeal, I hope obviously that they lose on appeal.
Is there a different court that decides the appeal, or is it the same court?
I think they're going to appeal in the same court, but it might go down to a lower court. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this wasn't a Supreme. Was it Supreme Court?
I don't know.
I can't remember if this is Supreme Court. But anyway, so
a lot of times in the states, the Supreme Court isn't the highest court anyway, right? The appeals court is the highest court, I think. I don't. I'm just guessing.
Well, regardless, that they're definitely. I would think that they're going to appeal, and we'll see what happens. Because if they lose on appeal, that's freaking great. That means that Cuomo and with his so-called New York Safe Act and all this stuff, a lot of this stuff could probably be brought back into court and be overturned. So that would be a great thing.
Let's hope. Along
with the constitutional carry states. So we're actually showing and making some progress.
Good.
So it's a good thing. So I think we got to take a break, but when we come back, we've got a couple different things. We're going to talk about, you want to talk about defunding the police and the stats as the results of defunding the violence that resulted from it and all this stuff. You got different states and cities and stuff. Okay. And also, you don't want to miss this I know this conversation is going to be totally stupid and insane. The naked bike ride in Philadelphia. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. There's a naked bike ride fund. There's a naked bike ride scheduled in Philadelphia, but there's a really strange twist to it. Not that riding a bike naked with a bunch of other naked people is enough to talk about, but there's something.
It's an annual event, right?
There's something even more. So we're going to talk about that. So stick around right after this break.
I'm Danny Wos Jr., producer of The Loaded Mic. I just wanted to let you know that you can find us at Simul TV, Right America Media, YouTube, and Rumble. You can also find the podcast at Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. Or you can go to loadedmic.com. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and leave a review.
By now you've heard me talk about MyPillow and how it literally changed my life. They won't go flat. You can wash and dry them as many times as you want, and they maintain their shape. They're made in the USA, and for a limited time, Mike is offering his premium MyPillows for his lowest price ever. You can get a queen-size premium MyPillow for just $29.98, regularly $69.98. It's a $40 savings, and kings are only $5 more. So go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listeners square, and use the promo code RAM, like RAM. You'll also get deep discounts on all MyPillow products, including the Giza Dream Sheets, the MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towel sets. You can also call 800-867-0416. That's 800-867-0416. But don't forget to use that promo code RAM.
The Second Amendment is a priority at the Loaded Mic. If we don't defend the right to keep and bear arms, there are people who are happy to violate it. The strategies and tactics of the anti-gun crowd and politicians are sinister, and we need to understand those tactics. I wrote the Good Gun, Bad Guy book series as the rule book to their evil game, so we can understand their strategies and motives to defeat them. Understand the mindset of the anti-gunner in Book 1. Learn the media strategies behind the gun grab in Book 2. And understand the politics behind their mission in Book 3. Go to goodgunbadguy.com.
So, we're back, and people, if people have seen the show, at least the past couple episodes, we got a new thing called Knuckle Sandwich, and I think this week's Knuckle Sandwich is absolutely the best. Let me just kind of present what we're going to see on video here.
Set it up.
This complete jackass guy. He's, okay, so down south, how we had the gas shortage here for like a day, right? People were freaking out, losing their minds, no gas, so everyone's freaking out. So this clown, I don't know what state it was. You're going to see the video in a second. He takes a tarp, puts it in the back of his pickup truck, kind of creates a swimming pool in his pickup truck, and he's pumping gas into the back of the pickup truck. I don't know if you guys saw this video. And people are videotaping him, and they're saying, what are you being such an idiot for? You're going to blow people up. It's dangerous. And he's saying, please leave me alone. Please leave me alone, while he continued to pumping his. So I want you guys to watch this video. I think, and I want to get your opinion, I think this guy deserves a knuckle sandwich, but you guys decide. Danny Wos Jr., play it.
Dude, it's not that serious. This is a little bit extreme.
Seriously, if somebody throws a lit gas match in here, it's going to blow. He's just going to drive off. Look at it splashing.
Oh my god!
Oh my god!
What is he doing? Right, we're following. We have to. Look at that! Are you serious?
Yeah.
How is he going to put that into his... No, he didn't!
Yes, he totally did.
No, he didn't!
Do you guys have any... Is there any way to justify what this clown just did?
That's Petrol Pete.
Petrol Pete. Anthony coins him in Petrol Pete. I think we'll keep that. The best part is when he's driving around the freaking corner.
He's lucky I wasn't there. I would have lit him on fire. I would have been like a cartoon watching the flame follow the truck around.
Smoking while he was doing it. That would have been really
Oh my God. What is wrong with Pete?
So Pete woke up and said, honey, I'm going to the Chevron. I'll be back in a little bit. You got the gas can?
Yeah, and the tarp?
No, I'm gonna fill the bed of the truck up with this S10. Don't you worry about it.
And then he loses half his load around the corner.
First corner. 14 gallons out the back.
No, there's more than 14. That must have been 50 gallons. Anyway,
he is something else.
So how do you? I don't know. I don't even know what to say about these stupid people that are living among us. How do they even function in society if they're acting like this?
Well,
like Petrol Pete.
It could be fake. We don't know. I mean, it could be the guy's cousin that's doing it, and he's like, "Hey, let's pour gas in the thing. We'll drive around the corner and take a video of it." But even so, it's dangerous on any level, right?
So that's like a stupid. Dan Wos Jr.
Like
what was that?
Jackass
Jackass. That was it, right? The Jackass show. Where they just did stupid, dangerous stuff.
Going over cliffs and shopping
carts.
carts.
What was his name? What was that guy's name?
Johnny Knoxville.
What is it?
Hurt, right? Did he get hurt really bad?
Johnny Knoxville.
Yeah.
Steve-O.
Steve-O. Yes. Steve-O. That guy. I like that.
I don't know if that's a joke I do with gasoline, though.
Right. No, I definitely wouldn't. So anyway.
That's wacky.
There we have it. So what do you guys think? Does this guy deserve a knuckle sandwich?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. Punch him right in the chin.
So Petrol Pete, you are a complete moron, and you deserve a knuckle sandwich.
Knuckle sandwich.
So since we're on the topic, we've talked about a couple serious things, right? Now we're talking about stupid things. But stupid things are fun. So here's another one that I want to share. Philadelphia has this annual naked bike ride. And I'm going to read a little bit from an article from Fox 8. I'm assuming it's a Philadelphia Fox affiliate. The headline reads, naked bike ride participants required to wear only one item. Can you guess what that item is?
Is it
A jockey
South Park
strap.
thing, or is it something more useful?
Pair of socks.
No, not socks.
Thong.
Not a thong. It's naked.
Oh,
they have
naked.
to wear one thing.
Eye patch.
Sunglasses.
That's close. Sunglasses, right? No. What? Are you ready? Face mask.
Oh, God, that's it.
So let me read a little bit of the article
Gotta
here.
go.
Organizers of the annual Philly Naked Bike Ride say this year's event will take place August 28th and will require masks based on the city's earlier coronavirus restrictions. Okay. Bike riders won't need their shirts, pants, skirts, or even underwear. Just a mask. Organizers of the annual Philly Naked Bike Ride say this year's event will take place August 28th. Okay. Require masks based on the city's coronavirus. Okay. Okay. A lot of coronavirus guideline nonsense. Ride participants, sometimes in the thousands, usually gather in a park to strip off their clothes and paint each other's bodies before carefully hopping on their bikes. The naked bike ride is to promote positive body image, advocate for the safety of cyclists, and protest dependence on fossil fuel. So, let me summarize. You can ride your bike with your butt hanging out, your dinkus, your VG, all your stuff is hanging out in the wind. But
You cover that mug up.
we don't want to infect people or spread any disease or germs, so wear your mask. How do you ride a bike with no pants on?
I don't want to try it. John's into it. Look at that face. He's ready.
I gotta have one of those wide seats with the padded cheeks. Otherwise,
Like the old lady seat?
He wants the spring on
allows
his.
for air
With the
flow.
springs?
Yeah, he wants the cushion.
The
Spring.
big springs. But there's other things to be concerned with. I mean, when you're riding a bike, for a guy anyway, and I would imagine even girls would. How do you? Okay, so now we're getting into the anatomy and stuff. I don't want to necessarily get into that, but the whole idea. First of all, they're painting each other up. What do? They meet ahead of time and
total strangers painting naked people,
painting each other's naked bodies, right? So this is for what? Body shaming. Body shaming. What did I say? Strip off of the clothes. Promote positive body image. In other words, people with the most horrendous bodies you've ever seen on planet Earth are going to be attending this thing because
it's funny that you think being naked and painted is going to make that look better. Right?
And what are you doing with thousands of people's of clothes? You just fold them up neatly on the lawn and putting their name on
They
them?
probably have little cubbies like you have out there.
And here, on a serious note, what about kids? I mean, kids are watching this stuff.
That's
Kids-
the problem.
Kids are watching people riding their bikes with their junk hanging out. How does that?
I mean, what if you're like 70 and you have old balls and are hanging 12 inches down the seat pole and you're just swinging around? It's just not what people want to see.
Did he just say that? What if you're 70 and you have old balls?
I'm just saying. I mean, who wants to be behind that guy?
You? Who wants to be behind you under normal circumstances?
Oh God! What if you're 70?
Well, I'm just trying to be, just.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Obviously, the whole
It
thing
is. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, if you're 70, you wouldn't
That's
have
the guy that's going to be out there doing it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, 10 Bo Derek body girl. It's going to be old granny with the flapjacks.
And the first thing I would think when I saw that, I go, "Oh, this is about fossil fuel dependence." That's what this.
Oh,
is
yeah,
about,
exactly.
Right?
That's the first thing I thought.
This will fix that problem, whatever that problem is.
Painting each other up. Little kids are going to be watching this insanity, this stupidness.
Silly.
Just doesn't.
What if you're bringing your kid to the park, walk the dog, play on the swing
not
set,
gonna
you
be
see a
good.
bunch of naked idiots,
Silly,
painted up.
Dad, what's going on over here? I don't know, but we're leaving.
What happened to this? What happened to this country? What is wrong with people?
The news puts stupid stuff out, so people think it's normal. I guess I don't know. How would you ever even know about this unless I didn't know this.
But there's thousands of people doing it every year.
Well, they must like it, obviously.
Don't they have any concern for children? Maybe parents don't want their kids seeing these ridiculous fools naked,
walking down the street,
painting each other up like a
bike parade.
I got a great idea. I say we all go to Philadelphia and do a live show there.
Oh, when's that date?
Change my mind. Set up a table.
It's probably on a Tuesday.
What did I say that was? 28th of July?
August 28th.
August 28th.
Okay, so let's look at the calendar. We can't make any commitments on that yet, but
I think we should go.
Okay.
I would
might
go.
be. Maybe we'll bring the loaded mic
It's not far.
to Philly.
I think Dan Jr.'s all about it.
Being in the parade. Him and what's her name?
He's in. 28th is a Saturday.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, boy. Should we bring our bikes?
I'll bring a bike.
Trikes.
Okay, so anyway.
We should get a 3-seater.
Any final comments on the naked bike ride before we move on?
Stupid, obviously, but
stupid
we'll
idiots.
still go watch it if we get the chance.
Stupid idiots. So, John, you got some statistics on this next topic.
Somebody
which is
posted
really
a bunch of stats yesterday about defunding numbers, crime numbers in a lot of cities. So I'll just run through a bunch of them quick, if that makes sense. Because, we know defunding the police was a big thing since the George Floyd thing. And, different places are on board with that. At least they say they are, whatever. And I don't think anybody ever really pays attention to what that means or what the results might be. So, again, more data that we should have out there, right? Knowing, okay, if you do this, what might happen in your city.
Yeah. So we finally have data. What you're saying is basically we finally have data showing us what the results are of defunding the police. Okay.
Okay. Minneapolis City Council approved cutting $10 million from the police budget. First permanent cut, with more expected to follow. Minneapolis City Council, 60% more homicides this year than last year, 269 violent shootings this year by July, equaling all the shootings from last year.
60% increase in homicides, Minneapolis.
Right. Seattle. The funding police department by 50% has already been approved to cut $76 million out of the 2021 budget for the police. In police-free zones, we could have a summer of love, Seattle Mayor Jerry Durkin said.
Yeah.
525% crime increase last month compared
Whoa.
to 2019.
500. Wait, hold on a second. So they cut the police by 50%, and they had a 500 and some increase.
I'm not even sure if they actually cut the police for sure, but
well, you said they defunded 50%. I thought you said cut.
Plans to cut the budget by 50% by cutting $76 million.
Okay.
Okay.
They had a
525% crime increase last month compared to 2019. 4 violent shootings in 10 days within the Chaz. That was the whole.
Oh, Chaz was a real beauty.
New York City shifts roughly $1 billion from the police department, but advocates and lawmakers say the change doesn't go far enough. We think defunding the police is the right thing to do, Mayor Bill de Blasio. 130% increase in shootings this year compared to last year. Chicago, it's time for our city to seriously look at cutting the police budget. May 31st, 2020, most violent day in 60 years. We've never seen anything like it. May through July, 1,130 shootings, 212 of them fatal. That's in Chicago.
212 fatal killings.
Right.
And that's where?
Chicago.
guy.
Portland City Council cuts $15 million from police budget. $5 million of that will be put towards a new program that sends unarmed first responders to answer homelessness calls. Defunding the police is a victory. We're not done.
Oh, it's a
Portland City
victory.
Council. Violent shootings up 240% since 2019.
So violent attacks are up 240%. And who called it a victory?
Portland City Council.
Portland City Council calls that a victory.
Yep. Atlanta cut their city budget, corrections budget by 60% by converting the Atlanta jail into a center of equality, health, and wellness.
What the hell is that?
We've been defunding the police. We've been defunding the police for the last few years. Murders are up 86% this month compared to last year. 165% more shooting victims relative to last year. Los Angeles Council really approved the new study cut the Los Angeles Police Department budget by $100 million to $150 million. Oh,
my God.
This is the dawn of a new era of public safety in Los Angeles, says the Los Angeles City Council. Murder rate is up from last year, double-digit rises in homicides in the last 2 months. Baltimore City Council approved $220.4 million budget cut for the police department. I am proud to lead a city council that took the first steps to responsibly reduce Baltimore's budget dependence on policing. Budget dependence on policing.
Budget dependence.
How can even make sense? So, homicides in Baltimore are pacing ahead of last year's record-breaking 164 people have been murdered this year. Philadelphia canceled a $19 million increase for the police and shifted $14 million out of the police budget.
So Philadelphia shifts $14 million out of the police department, but they have this wonderful naked bike ride coming up.
And homicide's up 28%.
It's up 28%.
No, I would say some of the homicides coming up might be people watching that bike race. If I had my slingshot, the bike race was going by. Got the laser sight.
All right, I love
that
that.
70-year-old aim 12 inches down the pipe and pull that.
I love the Atlanta idea of taking the correctional jail and turning it into a community center. What is wrong with these people?
The AOC said the other day, well, we have to cut crime. You know, we have to stop building so many jails. That'll cut down how many people are in jail. I'm like, yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Let's not build hospitals, and that'll cut down how many sick people there are.
Right.
So stupid. It's ridiculous, right? Anyway, that's just kind of got. This was an answer to somebody else's comment about the same stupid stuff that we always talk about. Well, you know, we don't need police, and people don't need to own guns, and nothing bad will happen, and this will fix all the problems. And then when you actually run the numbers, it's never that. It's always disaster.
Are we going to get to a point? Do we think that we're going to get to a point where the Democrats will realize that their policies suck? Really,
Never.
suck
Never
really
gonna
bad.
happen. Never going to happen.
So they're never going to. Even if they realize it, are they going to admit it?
The only way that anything would happen is if people start challenging the people in power. You know, like Andrew Yang wants to run for mayor of New York City, so he's trying to challenge some of the ideas. You know, and maybe
what's he challenging? He's got De Blasio in there now.
Well, Andrew's like to the right of De Blasio.
He's to the right
some
of
people are calling Andrew Yang like a Republican. He's in sheep's clothing trying to be a Democrat. That's what somebody said the other day that I heard.
Oh yeah, the impression I got from Andrew Yang is he's a far leftist.
And he's from Schenectady, right near us.
I don't like to admit that I'm near Schenectady, but even though I used to
If
live
he was from near Gloversville, that would be different.
Gloversville, Albany. We have some cities up here in upstate New York that aren't the greatest, but New York City defunds $1 billion,
right?
And violence is up 130%. Do they not see the correlation?
Well, even if you're not looking at it as a direct cause and effect from that perspective, if because of COVID, a lot more things are happening, why would you not need more police? If more things are happening because of COVID, you want police to protect the people that are needing to be protected.
If we get right down to it and we are honest with what we're really talking about here is that they do want more violence. Just like we talked earlier in the monologue,
Right.
we talked about gun-related crimes. They want the high numbers because without the high numbers, they can't justify more gun restrictions, more laws. Same with this stuff. Without defunding the police, you're not going to get the crime to go up, and therefore they won't be able to justify either federal policing which I think they want, or more gun restrictions or more restrictions of other sorts. So they need these numbers to be high. So they defund the police. The police departments get pissed off. They quit. They early retire. They do whatever they have to do to get the hell out of there. So nobody wants to become a cop anymore. Crime goes up. The Democrats in office say, "See, this is what happens. We need more. We need more federal policing. We need more gun laws. We need more government control." So I think that what they're trying to do is they like the numbers. And so we're always saying, wait a minute, everything's going up, crime's going up. We got to stop this. They're going, well, yeah, maybe not, though. Maybe we let it go up a little bit more.
Let's defund the police. That'll help.
Yeah, let's defund. Yeah, that'll help everything.
I don't even think that they think that that's going to help anything, though, really. I mean, who in their right mind thinks that taking away that protection is
I think they want the high numbers.
And people don't like it. This is the only other maybe bright side is that sooner or later people in some of these neighborhoods might start revolting against these people. Like these mothers and grandmothers that are walking around the streets and their kids are getting shot and stuff. Maybe they're going to say, hey, we got to do something. But I think the whole mentality is so deeply generationally ingrained in a lot of these cities that they just look to government to fix all their stuff. And even when they don't fix anything, they still
Would you feel safe walking, let's say you live in an apartment on the south or west side of Chicago, and would you feel safe walking out of your apartment, going down to the local, I don't know, newsstand or whatever, wherever you go, buy coffee, I don't know, without a gun?
Are you going to feel safe doing an inspection in the south end of Albany?
No.
Right?
No.
Same thing. Get out of your car. What are you thinking?
Yeah. Nope.
I got trapped down there coming home from a concert last summer, and I didn't know anything about anybody specifically, but I felt endangered being in a situation because all kinds of things can happen that you can't control. And that's the point of being prepared, right? You need to be ready to go in case something happens.
You always need to be prepared. I think people are the ones who try to deny that they need to be are just really just doing that. They're just denying the fact that danger can come at any time, and we don't know when it's going to. Hopefully, it doesn't. But then we also talk about, and we've talked about this on the show before. Just over 300 million people in the country, and just over 1 million violent acts per year. That gives you about a 1 in 300 chance that you're going to be the victim of a violent act. 1 in 300 is not good odds. I don't like it.
Right. Especially in the areas where it's most likely to happen are the areas where the gun restrictions are the hardest. So the people that are there have less chance to protect themselves than the people that are living out on the farm someplace.
Right. Well,
nothing's going to happen to them.
Right. So if we're living in the suburbs and there's a low crime area, our odds might be 1 in 1,000 or whatever. But that means that if our odds go down, somebody else's odds go up.
Right.
Is it up or down?
The chances of something happening will go up.
Right.
Well, and this could all be part of, too, I'm thinking of things like a lot of people don't want to go back to their jobs in the city. They don't want to commute back and forth to the city anymore. This is probably, part of that reason as well. I mean, not that I feel threatened all the time, but I used to drive around downtown Albany all the time, but I don't drive through downtown Albany anymore if I don't have to go someplace specific. And when I do, I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, that little girl got shot 3 blocks over from here. What's going on? What the local radio show was talking about Quail and First or something.
So I was going to ask Anthony about Quail and First.
I said, well, that guy I told you about, the Indian owner, a store, he got killed.
How many years has he been there?
He's been there well over 20 years.
What was the name of that store? Because I remember.
I think it's just Quail Convenience, but he was there. He 20 years he's in that neighborhood serving those,
neighborhood, right?
Neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
And stray bullet just.
Was that where the recording studio used to be?
Paul's? Well, that was Quail and Central. So I was.
No, Paul's studio.
Oh, no, he was on the other side of Central.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's sad the guy had to lose his life because these guys can't get along. He's just trying to run a store and boom, he's gone.
That's Albany for you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's Sheehan doing to fix that?
Nothing. Oh, she's got state police now roaming the city with the
sheriffs, right?
Sheriffs and the state police are now teaming up with Albany because they don't have enough police to do it.
I heard, though, somebody talking about how in situations like that, the sheriff is always the boss. Is that true? The sheriff is the highest ranking officer
over the mayor
in any situation where there's multiple police forces.
Over the mayor?
Well, I don't know the mayor's the boss over the Albany Police Department, but I think the county sheriff is still a higher ranking officer. We should look that up and see because that'd be interesting.
Yeah, well, that's true. I know in most, sheriff usually calls the shots
because the sheriff's elected, right?
That's right.
That's the whole point.
Sheriff's elected.
Another one of those little idiosyncrasies that we don't often talk about. How that's a different thing than a police chief being appointed by the mayor or whoever.
So now you got state troopers who don't deal with that kind of crime.
Right.
Walking the streets of Albany.
They're on the thruway giving out tickets.
In the middle of this.
I don't see.
They're just not.
It's not going to be good.
They're not exposed to that kind of violence. They really aren't. They drive around in a car all day. I mean, that's what they do. That's
Traffic
their job.
ticket kind of stuff.
Yeah. They're road police.
And now they
take them out of their car, and now they're walking a beat with an Albany cop, and they're just like,
they're highway patrol
"What's going to happen to me today?" It's not what I signed up for.
It's not going to be good.
But that's how bad Albany's so short with police officers right now. I think they're like 80 or 100 short right now. Because everybody's leaving. They're gone. They're all just retiring. They want nothing to do
know a
with it.
guy. We worked for a guy the last couple weeks ago that's retiring. Right? He's the assistant chief or something, and he's leaving. He's been there all the time.
Yeah. He's just fed up with it. It's sad.
Yeah, I don't know how these guys do it. I wouldn't want to do it.
Nope.
Well, I hate to be a state police who's used to sitting on the thruway in a car. Oh, you're going to the south end of Albany this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know how. They're not even used to that situation, right? So it's going to be very hard to deal with.
They're not even trained for that
No,
environment.
you're not trained for it. That's a whole
It's a whole different ball game.
And Anthony knows because he used to drive the paddy wagon.
Mm-hmm. Good fun.
You did, right?
Oh, yeah.
You used to drive all the...
He knew all the criminals
I
by
got
name.
some stories of that one.
They'd get in and say, "Yo, Anthony."
No, they didn't know my name. You don't tell them your name. I was Bob.
All right. Well, it looks like we're out of time, but that's boy, a lot of good
Some
stuff.
crazy
today.
stuff, right? It's all over the map, and when you look at it objectively, you're like trying to make sense of it, and some of it just doesn't make any sense. Just doesn't make sense.
The left doesn't make any sense.
Well, it doesn't until you realize what their real motives are. And if we can always talk about their real motives, then we understand, and it makes perfect
it's the agenda
sense.
that's the problem. I made the point to somebody yesterday. Well, why do you think that this is this? I go, because you're talking right from an agenda. That's what you're doing. It's perfectly clear that that's what you're saying, because we're giving numbers, facts, asking questions, and you insult us personally because you think we're this kind of a person, because that's what your agenda says. It's just... It's
In the end,
shallow.
Those 55 people in Chicago don't matter.
Don't matter, right?
They don't matter.
No, they don't care about those people.
I mean, there's 55 less people who are going to vote for them.
Maybe.
Maybe.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. Good show. And we'll be back next week. Thanks so much for watching The Loaded Mic on YouTube, Rumble, Simul TV, and Right America Media. You can also catch the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. I'm Dan Wos. The Second Amendment is not a privilege. It's your right.
It is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, focus on...
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
they're stating
it wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s.
It happened before the election because there's too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoing is going to...
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out the lies.
Rules for Thanksgiving. Who the hell is he to tell us what we're supposed to do?
Do they think that we are so stupid that we will not notice and find out